I've been a lawyer for 35 years. We run a commercial practice with a strong immigration component. We've got a lot of overseas clients, those individuals and companies. Example is Sri Lankan Airlines is starting to come here, the Philippine Consul General, various companies with various interests in Australia. So that's how come we have an interest in the China project.
Okay, I'm a solicitor. I'm a member of the Law Council of Australia, as well as the Law Institute of Victoria. I've been working with Frank since 2005, and I've been partner of the firm since 2009.
Mayers is a chartered accountant. It's been a chartered accountant for 29 years, and we operate DFK Lonsdale. We're situated in Collins Street, and we are affiliated with DFK International, which is an affiliation of about 380 offices around the world and over 10,000 staff.
Yeah, my name's Ursula Fry. I'm also the bank manager here, so welcome to 114 William Street today. So for me, I've got 13 years experience in the banking industry across a number of different groups, right from the old days when I was clicking the button on sending settlements through for various kinds of transactions, all the way through to looking through credit, relationship management, from your 10-cent clients right through to the multiple billion-dollar clients. I've worked right up the eastern seaboard of Australia as well as in Perth, in various locations, looking after very complex and diverse client needs in that time. And now I'm here at 114 to hopefully be a part of this project and maybe help you guys out today as well.
After we went to China last year and in consistent communication with the Chinese, they are looking for a broad range of investments, from mining, from agriculture, from property developments, to residential, commercial, anything, even general businesses as well that are well established and looking for that next growth phase of its life, and basically wanted to invest something that will get a reasonable return on their investment with the acceptable risk associated with that sort of investment. They're looking to invest $800,000 to $300 million is basically what we will have as the sweet spot to target those sorts of investments into Australia from our alliances in China.
Fantastic. So I think it's fair to say that in the past we've seen that the Chinese investors concentrated more on energy resources and mining resources. So we're seeing a diversification of that portfolio.
I'm sure that mining will continue to be one of the top priorities for the Chinese, how important it is. Obviously, 1.2 billion people, they want to guarantee their resources, they want to guarantee their economy, they want to guarantee the food, and so therefore it will continue to be a priority. But that's available to only a limited number of investors from China, and we are targeting basically the middle one who've got up to $300 million, not the billions of dollars. And these investors haven't had as much opportunity as the bigger players in the field, because they don't have the connections that the government-to-government connections have had in the past for the billions of dollars. And so they have now been opened up with the change in the laws, the regime, opened up their economy and their funds to be exported around the world. So these second-tier type of investors have the opportunity now.
Well, as I said, Sableburg Moorcost Lawyers is a commercial firm with a big immigration component. Last year we were approached by a Chinese-Australian law professor who wanted to introduce us to former classmates of his who now ran law firms in China with a view to cooperating. So we met this principal of the law firm, and then discussions took place. We decided to go to China We went to China in October last year. We met partners in law firms in Nanjing, Shanghai and Beijing. We formed an alliance with a number of law firms throughout China, and at the same time DFK Lonsdale formed an alliance with accounting firms. In discussions with the legal firms, they indicated that they had a number of investors who wanted to invest in Australia, others who wanted to migrate. So there was a change in law in November last year with the $5 million significant investor visa, which makes it much easier for somebody to migrate and get permanent residence, cutting out some of the areas that previously were not in favour of somebody who had big business interests in China. So they indicated to us they had investors wanting to invest, and we're going back in April, conference of these law firms, and we wish to have a portfolio of investments and projects we can present to them at this conference.
In terms of the portfolio, it's discussions that we've had with the law firms as well as the accounting firms in China have been purely based upon the type of projects that they're looking for. So based on that, what they're looking for generally is you've got agriculture, you've got mining, property, etc. These are the things that interest them. We want to incorporate Australian viable businesses that are seeking foreign investment into this portfolio, and we'd like to present this once a year in this book. We've already established an office in China, and the office has 3 staff. So the staff in China will act as conduits in terms of they will be in contact with the law firms. So the law firms as well as the accounting firms will then approach their clients. They have an incentive because I'm sure Mayor will elaborate further in terms of the success fees that are required in order to put in the advertisement or the investment, so to speak. But generally speaking, we'd like to give you the opportunity to put forward your investments so that we can then forward them onto the potential clients in China. Now, these law firms and the accounting firms that we're talking about, they're top tier firms. They're not, your mid tier or low tier. So if you can understand from that perspective, the clients that they retain are high-end type of clients. Now, the law firms specifically that we've approached, strategically there's an emphasis on foreign investment. One law firm in particular, they've got a real stranglehold with the US, and so they're looking for a secondary option for their clients. So, what a great opportunity, especially in the current environment, to present Australian viable businesses.
A lot of Chinese investors are looking for, especially if they're looking for a business visa, is lifestyle opportunities as well. I mean, comparing the lifestyle that we have in Australia compared even to the US, I mean, it's a very gentle, it's a very safe environment, and I think that's something that's very high on the list of any Chinese investor. So,
elaborating on that, it was
okay, it was a feed.
Sorry. Well, when we had met with a number of these law firms, about 5 of the managing partners of these firms already had children studying here in Australia. So lifestyle is a really important thing for them, and Australia is a really good option. They're interested in Australia at the moment.
Well, there's three opportunities for the Australians. Basically, as a sponsor of the China project, it's a sponsorship option. Then there's the project member option, and then there's the pure advertiser. The advertiser is basically branded companies like BMW, Rolex and so forth, and they're just there to promote their brand, and that's the end of it. There is no success fee applicable to those advertisers. For the sponsors, a very similar situation. They just want to promote, for example, an education institution like an RMIT or Melbourne University. They could be supporting a sponsor, and of course there's no success fee. The main success fee will come into the project holder category or the project member, and that could be arranged between 1% of the funding that we will source to about 6%, generally speaking. Why there's a range is because of the amount of time and effort that we will have to put into it based on the project that you will present to the China project. The more complex and the more drawn out and the more complex the project, like for example a shopping centre, does not happen overnight. It might take a good 6 months to a year before all the information exchanged between the two parties and both are comfortable with the actual project and they're comfortable with the amount of money that needs to be invested. We've got to hold hands with both parties along that process, so it will take a lot of time and costs from our point of view. So basically the success fee will be commensurate with the actual time and effort that we'll put into that particular project. But a simpler project, like for example selling Hungry Jacks to a migrant, it's quite easily done. All the information's there, and it could be at the low end of that scale. The time you will be you will have to pay that fee basically on settlement time. Whenever you get the money, that's when we will get our fee as well. Okay.
Thanks, Mayor. So really what you're saying is that success fee is dependent, A, on the size of the project, B, on the fact that the transaction is completed, and you, the China project team, will be the facilitators for the project owners as they want either cash injection or selling their businesses, which is some people.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
Yeah, look, at the moment Australia is, everybody knows, a very mature economy, and we also all know that through GFC's version 1 to 4 that getting funds into the country is getting harder and harder. 70% of Australia's money comes from overseas, so the banks can actually lend it out. If we can find a way to, I guess, short circuit or shortcut this process and get funds out of those two key places, China being one, the Middle East being the other, it's certainly going to benefit the Australian economy. Foreign investment, that's certainly a political issue, and I'll leave that to various national party and everybody on their thoughts on that. But at the same time, from Westpac's point of view, we've been supporting Australia for nearly 200 years now, and the more money that comes into Australia for us means more money we can lend out to Australian clients that are already on our books. So we see it as supporting Australians. So we see potential foreign investment coming in as a benefit to the country and giving everybody that extra little bit of freedom that at the moment we've been constrained with for the last few years.
So it's almost a chicken and egg for property developers to get the extra funding that they desperately need for their developments. We're looking at Chinese investment, and then in turn that will allow us to start to free up some of that money for them. So thank you. That's an important note.
Yes, we're starting off with the Nanjing office, but we hope to have a presence in all of the main cities of China in due course. So we'll be expanding to Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, all the big cities, and then as we have representation alliances in other cities and major provinces, we will, if it's very, very successful, we'll move quickly If it's a little bit on the slow side, then we'll expand over the next 5 years. But eventually, we want to have representation in all the major cities in China.
Fantastic. And what's your experience in negotiations with Chinese investors?
Over many years, I've been a specialist in business services and negotiations on behalf of either the buyer or the seller, depends on the engagement that I have received. And it's basically trying to find the needs of both parties and trying to fill those needs by the other party. It's that simple. We've been involved in negotiations with a mining company that wants to have investment from overseas, and we're looking into that at the moment. We're looking at $20 million land subdivision in the south of Geelong. We have negotiated $45 million businesses for sale. So it's one of, I guess, a specialist type of role that I've had over the perhaps about 10 years, or I've gone more and more into it. In terms of dealing directly with the Chinese, I can't say I've actually sold anything to a particular Chinese resident, but the strategy here is not for me to go out there and sell to a billionaire or millionaire in China. I don't have that relationship. So what we're trying to do is have the conduit, and that is around 1,500 lawyers and accountants who have that existing relationship with their clients. They're the ones who will be basically communicating the project, your project or investment, and they're the ones who have the trust of their clients. So this is the strategy that we have. We're here to facilitate that with information between both parties.
If the people are migrating, we can provide assistance for visas. We have 12 people who've got licences with immigration as migration agents, we're also solicitors. We have experience in dealing with migrants from Southeast Asia. We can provide a start to finish service obtaining permanent residence for those people. And our experience over the years stands in good stead in getting those visas through. In addition, we have a contract with the Department of Immigration, so we're well known to the department.
The passion is a common denominator. The common denominator with China and the China business people is integrity, is trust, it's long-standing, and it's honesty. These are the common denominators that we feel strong about, that we can work with, especially over a test of time. So we're keen in consolidating our relationships with these law firms and accounting firms in China, and they too are also keen for a long-standing relationship and based and built on trust and the integrity. Well, from this team, it will be the four of us, along with Alan from Westpac. We're also in talks with the Victorian State Government, who will be sending over a representative. Most likely it will be the Trade Commissioner, Victorian State Trade Commission in Shanghai. We've also been in talks with the Trade Commissioner of Jiangsu Province that is based here in Victoria, and he's shown a keen interest in working closely with us, along with coming on board. And there's also a few there's a mayor and a deputy mayor of a particular local government here in Victoria that is already motioned or passed a motion in council to come along with us as well. The meeting that will be held, it's with all the constituent law firms of the Alliance, and that will be held on the 4th of April. and we've been given an opportunity to present all the investment opportunities.
We're obviously looking at it in a similar way as Mayo, for the potential for new clients to come to Australia, but also for our existing clients, to have that additional funding, assist with networking, potentially build our existing clients to get those development dollars in to assist them with their projects. One of the things that we've found in our dealings, in the past, and especially anecdotally for myself, is that a big key to dealing with, especially with Chinese nationals that I've found, is actually having that face-to-face relationship, having that trust that I've found you can only build face-to-face, being able to shake hands and get to meet that person, get to know a bit about them. Us being over there gives us that face-to-face relationship and being able to build that trust, and importantly for them to know when they come to Australia that they're going to be looked after by a trusted, long-standing brand within the Australian banking community. So and for us to be able to get over there and meet these people prior to them potentially coming across to Australia also gives us the ability to potentially start the work already. So that when they get off the plane, here's your card, here's the account details, and welcome to Australia. So so we're looking forward to heading across.
We will guarantee basically what we can, and we will not guarantee what we can't deliver. So quite simply, we will be guaranteeing that we will be presenting your portfolio to up to 150 interested parties through our affiliation. We will guarantee that we will go there 4 times a year and push your particular investment or project. And we will guarantee that you will not pay us a cent in fees until it is signed, sealed and delivered and monies have come into your accounts for your particular project or business or investment. The only exclusion will be if there's any disbursements that need to be paid on your behalf, that will be paid by yourselves. For example, if you need to prepare a business plan, you should have obviously your own business plan if it's a business. So if it needs to be prepared, then there'll be an extra cost and you have to pay that to your accountants.
Thank you.
The team here will represent the Australian investor project holder. We will not be representing the Chinese investor. We will only be representing one party to the transaction, obviously because of the conflict of interest in representing both parties. But secondly as well, they have their trusted advisors and they will be going basically through your numbers that you will present in terms of the project, and they will get their specialist lawyers and accountants and analysts to go through basically your project and analyse it and make their recommendations. However, our job is to represent you and to put your project in the best possible light so we can maximise the success.
Fabulous. I think one of the things that we need to ensure that we understand that this isn't a one-off project. This is a long-term 10 to 12 year project that we'll be doing. So when I hand out the media kits to everybody, you'll see in there that there is a fee that is required to either advertise your project, or if you are just a standalone advertiser, or if you're a sponsor, it's a fee that's paid annually. That means that you can refresh your projects on the website as well, so you have that ability to do that.
Look, I think importantly is, number one has to be, due diligence. You need to make sure that you understand exactly what it is that you want to get out of the project, but importantly, you want to make sure that you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's as far as getting a full understanding. If I put on my old credit manager hat for a second, there's 2 key components that I need if I was going to be lending money, for example. One would be getting the fully audited financials. The other would be making sure we're compliant from a legal sense. You've actually got both of those sides covered here. So, and even if you don't ask some questions to the panel now, I'd suggest get as much information as these guys off you can one-on-one later on, because they're a wealth of information. They've got all the details behind it, and that's my first key tip. The second one behind that is at the moment, I've already mentioned about the mature economy and where Australia sits from a global funding perspective. If you can get extra dollars in from another source, the real question comes from that: what have you got to lose? It's dollars that aren't in the economy right now. With some consumer confidence issues lying in the back, even though business confidence has actually increased a bit recently. Getting those extra sources of people who've just put up their hands and said, we've got money to spend, we need some good investments. So that really becomes, what have you got to lose from that point of view? And hearing about the guarantee on top of it sort of doesn't sound like there's too much to lose there. But yeah, so really they're probably the only two that I'd give. One is make sure you get as much information as you can, and again, the second one really just at the same time, what have you got to lose is when things are getting tighter and tighter with legislation, it's always good to get alternate funding sources.
Yeah, I completely agree. As I said earlier, there's $3.64 billion of Chinese investment made in Australia over the last 6 years.
Sorry, 36.
What did I say?
36.1.
Oh, 36, sorry. I must be thinking of my age. So what we're talking about today, the Chinese government has guaranteed that that's likely to raise 12% this year. That's going to equate to $700 million that is available for investment into Australia. So that's a very exciting proposition for everybody sitting in this room today. So what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be presenting, as Jimmy said, we're going to be creating this vehicle, which is a portfolio with your projects clearly enunciated within that portfolio. We'll be, if this is what you want to do, if this is what you think is an absolute opportunity for you and your businesses, we'll be speaking to you, looking to arrange an appointment to sit down and talk to you about how you want your company represented. So we'd like to get the feel and flavour of your particular company and represent that accurately in the portfolio. We'll be, when we've looked at when we look at selling in Australia and compare that to selling in China, it's vastly different. There are things that the Chinese investor likes to see happen where Australians don't really care about. So where Australians don't really care about going to trade shows and things like that, it's very important for a Chinese person to attend those kind of trade shows. And if you don't attend those trade shows, you're not seen as a team player. So we have to, when we start selling your projects, we have to bear that in mind. So understand the Chinese psyche and make sure that we sell your projects in the best possible light. To that end, you've got the conference happening on April the 4th, and the team will be presenting your projects face to face. Now there's an opportunity for you as the investor to, as the project owners, if you wish to attend the China project visit as well, and that's all outlined in the media kit itself. What I'd like to do now is, guys, if you could possibly hand out the folders. In this folder we have a media kit which outlines exactly what we're doing. It also has the investment opportunity for you, so what sort of costs you're looking at. And whilst this is being handed out, I'm looking for Debbie in the room. Is she still here? Has Debbie left the room? Okay. For every marketing dollar that you spend on advertising, I believe, and Debbie has that information, I'll grab her when she comes back, there's an ability to get a refund from the state government.
It's actually a federal government rebate through Austrade. So it's dollar for dollar. It's on their website, the actual details of it. And I think it's in, between an investment of 10 to 20,000 in total.
So if we can just turn to page 26, 27, 24 and 25, if you see that there's a sponsor partnership opportunity, and then there's project members if you've got a development project or you're looking for cash injection to your own particular business. And then on page 26 we've actually got the advertising costs. And obviously positioning is all important in a magazine, but we want to be in the position to go across to China with your projects placed fairly and squarely within the portfolio, represented correctly, so with your flavour, your branding, sorry, not your branding, but you're trying to, through words, trying to reflect the accurate representation of your company. Has anybody got any further questions that you would like to ask the team? Or does the team have anything else that they'd like to share with the audience? Jimmy, go ahead.
There's just one thing. There's a real incentive now in China because the visa structure has changed for business visas. And so, regulations have changed from November of last year, where a person who's seeking to come to Australia on a business visa, if all they need to do is invest $5 million in an active investment, and it will fast track a permanent residency. Now, this is never, there's never been a visa like this before, and it's just a great opportunity for those that are seeking an investment as well.
Now, does that include the nuclear family, or is it
It
just...
does. It includes the nuclear family, so it can include the spouse and all dependents. It can also include other dependents, such as a parent who is a dependent on the main applicant.
Okay.